Hello again, this is Charlie Bellefontaine, and you're listening to the Chicago Housing Experts here on WCPT AM 820. Give us the lowdown on who you are and how to reach you.
I'm Amber Cardosh. I'm with At Properties Christie's International. You could reach me at 773-726-2070. I'm on Instagram at Amber Cardosh Real Estate and Amber Cardosh on Facebook and all the other social media things.
Loving it.
Steve Davis, Real Brokerage, Kamar Group. You can reach me at 312-513-6314. Instagram, I'm Steve Davis.
I want to apologize to all of you who are listening to this on
He didn't like
AM
you saying
820,
pissy pants.
where facts matter, who got hit in the ear at 6:01 with a pissy pants. But that's not what we're about. We're about real, hard-hitting real estate talk. I'm Patrick Loftus. I'm a real estate lawyer. Find me on social media, Loftus_law on Instagram, Loftus Law on TikTok. Come watch my shorts on YouTube.
Joey, can you apologize for Patrick now, please?
Hi, my name is Joey Mathews.
Hard-hitting
NMLS
real estate talk.
133694. I'm here for the mortgage side of that stuff, I guess. Market stuff. And when I say market, I mean rates. I don't mean like hyper local markets like Chicago where things are going over ask and it's a bear to be about. Anyway, the VA Loan Nerd. You can find me on all social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. You can swing by my website, thevaloannerd.com. You can call or text me at 630-235-2405. But yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. In the markets, we have enjoyed watching a bunch of weak data come in while the market has replied by saying, yeah, we don't care about your data. We're going to stay weak too. So no movement in the rate market today. There should have been. You would have expected there to be. But, I mean, after the losses we saw, a week and a half, 2 weeks. Oh, my gosh, 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, it was all a while.
Towards the beginning of April, yeah. I mean, we've recovered and we are right back into that same range that we've been in since essentially January. So it's always a good time to buy, baby. It's all that matters.
Joey, you sound like a man who's drawn up
making
about
predictions.
No. You sound like a man who's drawn up about 1,000 pre-approval letters and had 10 offers accepted. I'm sorry. I'm
Dude,
sorry
it's
that's
wild,
happening
man.
to you.
No, I got 6 contracts over the weekend. We
Yes,
got a bunch
sir.
of pre-approvals. We got a bunch of pre-approvals out over the last few days. Like, it's a very, very hot market, but it depends on where you're at. I work all over the country, so like of the 6 contracts, I think 2 were in Illinois. It's just it's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on.
So I'm taking it then Chicago's unique. Because I know everybody's busy. We're swamped in that, but that's not happening nationwide?
I'm not in Florida. In Florida, you are a very lucky person if you're deciding to buy right now. Sellers can't sell anything. I mean, it's crazy. It is wild.
That's
down in Florida.
changed.
I think
For
Texas
sure.
is the same.
I'm selling a condo in Southwest Florida. What do you think about my chances of having success, Joey?
I mean, come on.
Bad,
Yeah.
bad, and
Why
getting
is it
worse.
Not the greatest.
idea.
Not the greatest. Let's see how the hurricane season treats us this year.
Icky.
What's Arizona like?
Arizona, it's pretty balanced, man. I mean, I just got one over the weekend. It's actually like down the street from my house, and they went under list, and they got it. And as far as I'm aware, we were the only offer on it. So, yeah.
Denver's
Depends
got a
on
lot
where
of
you're
inventory
at.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
you
my
guys
sister.
were talking about River North as well earlier, right?
Yeah, it's got like
5,
almost
6
6 months of inventory. So
Yeah.
it's definitely one to you can, I think I mentioned it was the first time I negotiated not over, it was under, and I'm like, what's happening? So it was definitely an adjustment. But
Everywhere else is a weekend, maybe a week.
You mean the
It
houses
seems
are
like-
gone in less than a week?
They're flying.
They're flying out the shelves.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
not
amazing.
forget South Loop, Gold Coast. Those are more like River North. But
Yep,
yeah,
the Loop.
But hey, look, zig when everyone else is zagging. It's
That's
not
the
like
way I think. Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with a condo in River North, and if you can actually get in there and not get abused by a seller. I mean, if you can find one that is suitable for your needs and your family's needs, man,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds good to me.
I think River North, anything you can pick up right now that's cheap. I mean, you can get stuff, before 2020 or whatever and everything happening, River North was the place to be, and you spend $400,000 on a one bedroom. Now it's $285,000, $300,000.
I mean, I've had clients pivot to places like River North that they weren't even thinking about that, and in their minds they're going, I don't want to shop like this where I have to go highest and best, waive everything, and give them up my dog Toto and stuff. Like their plans are like just focus on River North or other places with higher inventory. Buy there, and then in a few years, know that they won't lose money because they're getting a deal.
I know you're joking about the dog, but
are you kidding me? That was a great Wizard of Oz.
I literally.
I love how everyone tried not to laugh.
I know an agent who had a listing a few years ago, and the buyer literally, not kidding, not a joke, literally did ask for the dog with the place.
Way. Unbelievable.
That's what I said when I saw them, the next time I saw them after
I would be open to
they
it.
posted.
Of course you
After
would.
they posted this, I mean, I don't know about your relationship with your dog.
Money
but
talks. I mean, you give me a good price for my house.
Amber Kardosh, everybody.
Copper is yours.
Don't ask if pause. She's not looking to donate to you.
Oh my goodness. No mercy here.
But I that's my reaction to him was like, there's no way that actually happened. He's like, hand to God, that literally happened. So, I mean, and when I back off and I take away the facts, I mean, real estate's crazy sometimes. No matter what's going on in the greater world, sometimes you just see something in real estate and you just go, that's a new one.
I couldn't agree. Now, Amber, you came up and used a term that I never heard before.
Uh-oh.
I tend to do that.
No, it's all good. I want to keep learning these things. And, going back to what I started off in the beginning, everything that I wanted to do with starting this whole show is to talk about the unethical things that happen in real estate and
We only have an hour.
That's the only thing you want to
We're
talk
going to
about.
take it piece by piece. And we're
Haters gonna hate.
What did I say?
You were
Evidently
talking
some
about
things.
Lockbox listings.
Oh.
And you went into a little bit of
Kickboxing.
details on that, and I'm like, why would somebody hire somebody that does that? So I need you to give me the education, portion of that. What does it mean when somebody does that? What's that jargon?
Lockboxing?
Yeah.
Uh,
And talk to me like I obviously don't know.
So I was talking. So basically, it's a normal thing, and I know lots of people are going to disagree on my thoughts on this, but people who, especially this market, things are just flying off the shelves. Agents aren't really having to legit sell properties in a lot of areas. Like they put it up, it sells in a weekend, boom, right? So there's a lot of people who actually throw the lockbox up. I was talking about, with all the commission discussions about stating your value and talking to sellers saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to sell your property. And at the end, you're like, but also I'm going to put a lockbox on there. And then the buyer is going to come in. And if I get showing, if they like it, they'll tell me. But if they don't like it, they may tell me or they may not. There's no guarantee on feedback. So if I was a seller and I'm paying 3% or whatever to my agent who's selling, and I'm like, oh, okay, but you're not going to be there for this. You're not going to try to sell the house, sell the surrounding areas, talk to them about the quality of life of living in this area. I don't understand that, and nobody's questioning it. I mean, to my knowledge. So I see a lot more often, there's people who don't have people represented on their side, on the listing side, at the showing. And that baffles me.
And I guess you can, to me, it sounds lazy, all right? And I think that's one of my biggest issues with most professionals in our fields is the lazies. I hear Joey talk about lazy lenders. I know Patrick talks about people that don't do their homework or research for things like that. I'm hearing this now with the real estate agents. And I get it. A lot of this is true, and that's why we have to watch out for this stuff. But part of me also goes that maybe they're in an advantage situation where they can be lazy, like you're saying, if the market's that hot and things are going off in a week.
I need to make it crystal clear before you go
Please.
on any further that fellow lawyers, I did not call any of y'all lazy. Do not come
I'll
at me.
testify against him.
Do not
I
come
will
at
be
me.
happy
I
to
did
be a
not
witness
do that.
against
That
him.
is
I'm not calling
Charlie
people lazy.
Bellefontaine
I'm just-
calling everybody lazy.
I'm not
That is
calling
me
anybody
saying
lazy.
that.
So we're not
Oh,
saying
I'll call mother truckers lazy.
It
So,
almost sounded
it's
like
not-
Charlie thinks I'm calling people
it's
lazy.
not. We are calling people lazy.
I'm
What
posing
we
the-
are,
There's lazy professionals.
what
out
we
there.
are saying.
Charlie's
is
Charlie's
that-
saying it.
It's all about the
Charlie's-
value of what you bring if you're going to be hired to sell something.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Amber's saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. And to reiterate what she said, which is you're selling a property, you're getting sold, or you're making a lot of money from it. You're representing a client. You don't just throw a lockbox on and say, oh, well, people are going to come by. They're going to take a look at the house. I'll know who it is. Let's say use a central lock, which is a more fancier lockbox. Okay. It's digital. You know who's going there, what time, the agent, the MLS number, all that. But the fact is that if you're doing that, your value isn't there. And there are agents out there that just throw a lockbox on and they're like, well, just go show it. So and don't even care.
I don't
And
think they understand the word value.
Well,
But
let
I
me,
don't-
let me interject really quick here because I think that we're missing a portion of this conversation, which I'm led to believe that in the suburbs that this is the more common practice is to put a lockbox on a home.
It's not just the suburbs. It's the city as well.
It's more common in the suburbs, I agree, but it's happening in the city too.
And it's been explained to me, at least, one rationale for doing it in the suburbs is that the distances are so much longer. So if let's say you guys show 3 homes, that you may only have an opportunity to show 3 homes in a day, because if you're driving 30, 40 an hour in between homes, you just may not be able to get people in when they need to see it. So I'm playing devil's advocate because I don't necessarily have a dog in this fight, but there are some arguments on the other side of this.
The whole thing with a lockbox, the reason I use a lockbox is very simple. It's because I want to make sure the keys stay. So when I go to go show the property, or one of my agents show the property with
Sure.
that buyer's agent and their client and or whatever, the lockbox has the keys. I don't have to worry about
Getting them to
misplacing
somebody.
them
Sure.
or whatever. That's why we use lockboxes. What's happened though, recently or even throughout the real estate world, is that people throw a lockbox on it so they don't have to go show the property, and they want someone else to do their job. And I would not say that the seller's agent is the one that sells the property ultimately. But
don't?
Well, no, I wouldn't, because I think the buyer's agent is the one that really will persuade or give the reasons behind why the property might be a good fit for their client. A seller's agent, in some aspects, would sound salesy if they tried to sell it, if you will. I think both work, but I think the buyer's agent ultimately, that's why they're hired. That's why their value is there. You don't agree?
I think yes, but I also think there's agents. You can't make assumptions that buyer's agents know areas. They pretend they know areas.
Yes.
So the buyer is leaning on the buyer's agent to know things about the area they're buying into. And you can tell as a listing agent, if I'm there, I'm like, are you familiar with the area? Buyer's agent, you can tell right away if they're like, oh, yeah. And buyers especially want to understand what they're buying into. Mm-hmm. Intricate details about surrounding areas. Oh, the parks and the park district stuff is over there. And also you're like 2 blocks from that, like telling the story, because you can find a place anywhere. But you want to understand what you're buying into. So you can't make assumptions that the buyer's agent is going to be able to tell that story. And that's why you're there. You're not being
True.
salesy.
Yeah.
You're selling the property like you told your client you're going to do.
And what
Who's
you
gonna
just
give
did
your
was
dog
not.
away if the listing agent's not there.
And what you did right now is you
I know, you can't focus
You
when
didn't-
he
this is-
speaks,
this is
right?
my
you didn't
favorite
sell
thing,
it. No,
really.
because I have ADD, so I can't focus as he interrupts
not
me.
alone.
I'm not a fair person.
No.
No.
He
But
sides
that's
with
why I love you.
So
I'm sorry,
All right,
I'm going
I
to
lost
let
it.
you
Doesn't
go
matter anyway.
run with this thing and that, but do you guys, am I hearing that you as a listing agent, you want to be present on the property during showings and the inspection?
yes,
You're
Yeah.
saying yes.
yes.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Now, as an inspector, I'll be honest with you, I don't like you there. I
Too bad.
don't like too bad. I love it. No, that's all good.
Well, there's
That's
another
all
difference
good.
between the city and the suburbs. I think in the city, it's kind of taken for granted, or at least it's common for a listing agent to be at an inspection, whereas in the suburbs, you will definitely get some people
You'll get pushback from the other agents for sure.
The buyer's agent will be like, you're not supposed to be here.
No, it's not that they're not supposed to be there. It's the fact that if we are there and we hear things, we need to disclose it if we actually hear things. So they advise the seller's agents not to be there. You open the door, then maybe you're staying way far away from the inspector and the client or whatever, or maybe you just say, "Oh, I didn't hear that." But in reality, if you do hear something and it needs to be disclosed, now you know it. So are
Yeah,
you
but
going
how
to
do
be
you
ethical?
prove that?
Yeah, but
Or you're
here's
not.
Don't.
No, exactly. It's not about, you can't prove it. And maybe you can. But the fact is that if you're a good human being and you're a good agent and you're ethical, then
We've narrowed that down.
So
Well,
here's my value.
1%.
Here's my value about being the listing agent at an inspection. Yes, technically, if you hear something you have to disclose, fine, whatever. I'm willing to take the risk because it's my listing. And if the inspector, as they all have insurance, breaks something or something happens to where it wasn't like that when they were there, but they're going to be like, oh, this was broken. And it has happened. I'm there and I see what's happening so I can communicate to my clients like I always do and say, hey, the inspection went well. I will tell you because I will tell them. If I hear something, I'm going to tell them. And half the time they're like, I'm going to get that fixed. So I don't.
and why would you tell them?
Because it's their house. So if this deal falls through, they're
the
going to
right
want to get
thing
it
to
fixed
do.
anyway.
Exactly. But
So
you know how
it's
many
all these secret things with
Right.
real estate, which baffles my mind. Like, okay, it's silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be there.
I'm there at every single inspection. If I can't make it, I'm sending one of my agents because we are representing the seller and they are relying on us for our expertise, our knowledge, and more importantly is the trust that will make sure that we're taking care of them.
And Charlie, let me ask you this. If you're at an inspection, you can't find something. You're like, well, I can't seem to find the location of X. Who's going to know? It's not the buyer's agent.
No, but then we'll have them reach out to the listing.
But then that's a delay. What if the agent's busy, or what if then you're stalled in your inspection? So there's great value, I think, of being at your own inspection, and those are just all the points that make it
No,
smooth.
they just put in the report. Couldn't find the water meter. Couldn't find this. Send in an expert to go find the water meter.
Yeah, but that's time. That's annoying for my sellers. Like, oh, hey, someone
Right.
couldn't find this. I
Annoying,
want to,
Stop smiling over there.
No,
okay?
I
will
had,
not.
I
Try
mean,
to-
but it all depends on the people that are involved, all right? It goes back down to the lazy people that come in there and the unethical ones. And I'm just, you made me think about a fireplace, right? So we had a gas burning fireplace that was in there. Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, two
Oh, yeah.
firefighters
You
talking about
know,
a fireplace. You know where this is going.
Well, no, it was a gas fireplace, and it was
I
on a
know,
switch. I
yes.
flipped the switch, and it didn't go on. And I'm like, all right, it's not working, but let's just make sure that it's working. And the listing agent overheard that. He goes, well, you can't put that in the report. He says, oh, yeah, I can. Watch me. It's real easy. I just press this button, and it goes in automatically. What are you talking about? He goes, no, you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, well, I don't really care what you think. I'm going to put it in there. Just get the thing working and show him it's working.
He's not allowed to
You
tell
know,
you
well,
what
you're
allowed to
supposed
do.
to.
That's fine.
He goes,
Yeah.
you're supposed to light it.
I don't
And
understand.
I'm like,
You're
you know
supposed
what?
to test it.
Why
You're supposed
are
to make
we?
sure it works.
Well, if I'm not going to go ahead, if it's shut off, I'm not going to turn it on because I don't know why they shut it off. And I am not bald hereditary. This is a male bald pattern burn from me sticking my head in the side of a fireplace that whooshed up on me, and that's the last time I'm ever going to
Are
do
you
something.
serious?
No, of course I'm not.
That was an
Jesus
awesome
Christ.
story.
When do
I mean,
you ever
he got me
believe
for a
me?
minute.
I
You
saw
did.
Home Alone.
I know, right? That's what it is.
Steve
Thank
thinks you're
you.
Wile E. Coyote.
Joey
or
got it.
something. You gotta.
Joey,
Actually-
I've seen Home Alone.
You see what happened? You see what happened was
Joe Pesci.
Charlie was walking around with a bomb that says Acme on it.
That's it.
And it exploded in his face, and
Joe
then
Pesci.
he had to take his nose and he had to bring it back around on the front, just like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
You've been there.
And if you were born before 1990, you didn't get that reference.
If you were born before 1990, you should be finishing up your potty training. For crying out loud.
I'm going to get
Going
yelled
back
at
to
for
pissy
that word,
pants over
too.
there.
No, we can't say that, all right? So we're going to have a few dingers coming in there. I got yelled at for that one already. But no, this is all a good thing. And Joey, give me, how do you get involved with some of these things? I mean, how do you combat when somebody's not really doing their job and so
I
forth?
take over the deal.
Seriously, this is interesting. Give me more.
Dude, well, no. I mean, people will reach out to me like, "Hey, I don't think," and I'll be blunt. Like, a lot of this always comes back to the VA stuff because I obviously brand myself as the guy to talk to for it. But I'll get brought in after the fact and be like, "Hey," people will say, like, "I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. I don't think this lender knows what they're doing. Can you help me out with this issue, that issue, whatever?" And in the past, I've helped other lenders close VA loans, but I think I'm pretty overdoing that stuff because working for free is not fun. It's like, because I have spent years getting good at this, right? Years getting good at this.
Yeah.
I should probably be compensated a little bit for helping other lenders figure out VA. And you know what drives me nuts about it is, as soon as they have their answer, they're not going to remember it. They're not going to go study more about it. They're just like, all right, I hit the easy button. Joey fixed it for me, you know? So anyway, I get involved when a realtor comes to me and says, hey, this got flagged on the appraiser. The lender says we have to fix it. I look at the appraisal. I'm like, nah, dude, you can get that waived all day. That's an easy NPR waiver, and if minimum property requirement waiver. And sometimes I'll get that client, sometimes I won't. But yeah, it's just
Joey,
learn more about
it's
VA
interesting,
stuff, lenders.
Joe, you're
It's
saying
interesting you
appraisal,
bring that up.
but you mean VA inspection, right?
Sir, I will punch you in the face.
So it's interesting you bring that up because that's something
Getting
that
violent.
Charlie and I talked about too, is the fact of getting paid for something by giving answers. And the whole thing with the person calling you, you may get the client, you may not get the client. That's happened both sides as far as on my end as well. I don't know about you, but like people will call and say, hey, somebody told me this, but I understand you know a lot about this, or you've been in the profession for a long time. Could you help me through this? And it's kind of interesting because the compensation aspect, as far as consulting goes, that's something that I've found that's actually starting to happen a lot because they don't want to use they don't want to use an agent, but they want to do their own deal.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden they're over their head.
Exactly. And then it's like, fine, you want to use me? Fine. There you go.
So this is where, my timing comes in. All right. The real estate agents are showing houses, listing houses. The attorneys are going over contractors. The mortgage guy is over there getting the loans ready to go. All this is happening before the contract's even signed. All right. And then after the contract's signed, Patrick gets to work. And then we get to work right after that as well. And then I meet with the clients. And when I start, and this is where I don't know if this is a burden or a good thing, but all of a sudden I'm listening to my client talking about what the real estate agent did, the attorney did, the mortgage broker did. And I've learned so much from all of you guys in the last 2 years, that I'm like, that's not right. That's not part. They can go ahead and do this. And yeah, I do bring you guys in. I value your knowledge. And there's times when I'm like, yeah, that person's not treating you well. They're not giving you good service and that. And these are the people that I trust, and this is why, but
You'll get an invoice for that. And as will every single. If you've gotten anything out of listening to us on this broadcast, please send us your email address, so that we can get you a Venmo request for our time. But Joey, before we move on, I made a fairly insensitive joke to trigger you about a VA inspection. Would you care to Please elaborate and set me straight, because I'm no good.
Lenders are failing themselves and every realtor they work with across the country because they don't know what they're doing in the VA space. There is no such thing as a VA inspection. You can say it as much as you want that there's a VA inspection. It will never be true. The only thing that there might be, depending on your area, and Illinois is one of those areas, is a termite inspection. That is only if you are not buying a condo above the second floor. If you're buying a condo above the second floor, you don't need a termite inspection, right? Anything else, you need a termite inspection. But that's it. If you're buying a well and septic, you need a water test. That's it. You got to have safe drinking water.
But there's more
no
to
such thing as a
the
VA
termite
inspection.
thing, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and this is for the home inspectors that are listening as well. We can do the termite inspections here in Illinois. That's not a problem. But when we go ahead and fill out these paperwork, we also have to give our clients an invoice. There has to be a dollar figure that shows that they paid for this. Now, we can, as home inspectors, comp that. And so, but I do have to have the termite inspection on the invoice. Is that a correct statement, Joey?
Yeah, we need to show the invoice. We need to show whether it's paid or not, so we can make sure that if it's not paid, that you do get paid when you're ready for it. But if you charge nothing for it, then you charge nothing for it. That's okay. That's okay too. And whenever you have a VA deal, do the freaking termite inspection at the same time as the home inspection. I see it so many times where they schedule them separately, and I'm like, why are we doing this to the sellers twice? Right? Just one inspection. Just do both things on one inspection. That's just
stop caring about other people.
Well,
I try to bring everyone in at the same time.
Same.
Yeah, I think most people
It's
don't
like today
realize.
is a perfect example. I've got a GC coming in along with the client, along with the inspection. So along with the radon. So
respect everybody's time. That's it. That's all.
Joey, the reason I wanted to make that a small point of emphasis is I have had clients who are coming in and getting VA financing, and they've said to me, hey, we're not going to do a professional inspection. The VA takes care of that for us. We have a VA inspection, and I have to set them straight.
I'm rolling my eyes.
Well, no, I mean, look, the borrowers they
don't know.
They only know what they've been told. And,
they got a word.
You know, I don't know, Joey. I mean, you know, around the barracks, maybe people do have some misconceptions about VA and you know the intricacies of it, and they haven't come across your social media content, and they've not been fully educated up to it, and they've been told that, hey, you can save, you know, $3, $4, $5, $6, $8, $1,000 by not getting an inspection because the VA takes care of that for you.
You pay for what you get, and you're making a decision based off of what someone told you. You should really.
Well, no, most people don't even care about real estate until they're ready to buy or sell. Is that a true statement, you think, or?
I don't know. I think everyone's always
I think
curious.
everyone thinks about real estate.
Really?
People always bring that stuff up, even if
if it's just how's the market.
Yeah.
You don't think it's because I
Yeah,
always bring it up?
Thank you.
Wait, what was that? I missed it.
No, how's the market? The question. So if someone says, "Oh, hi, Amber," or "Hi, what's your name?" She says, "Amber." "Oh, what do you do, Amber?" "Oh, I'm a realtor." "Oh my God, that market must be terrible right now because they're paying attention."
Yeah.
They're paying attention.
Right. I mean, even people that own right now are always looking around just because they love real estate, or they're like, I wonder if there's a better house than what I bought 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
And if they're under age 35 and haven't bought or sold, they don't care about real estate. They care about rental. They care that rent's going up. But if they've never dipped their toe into or even had a wild idea about buying a home, that's as far as it goes, is that the notion of rental, unless they're in the business.
Would you
I
agree
just
with
got
that?
trolled on Reddit.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Why
I
would
think you guys are too close to real estate to really fully appreciate
we're
it.
talking about. I mean, we're out talking to humans that are 35 and under.
Right.
Humans.
Well, I mean, like,
Are you sure?
I don't. Being inside real estate or not, it's, you know, people we're talking, and people who are renting. Yes, they're thinking about it outside of rental. They're preparing. Maybe it's not for another year or two, but they're definitely having the conversations.
One of the things that I always bring up as well is if you have someone who is renting right now and wants to understand what's going on with the markets and be able to be educated and to know, hey, if you get there, you'd like an introduction to someone who actually knows what they're doing in the field, what do I say? Refer them to me, correct? So what your statement is, what you just said, and what Amber just said, that's something we have those conversations all the time with.
Yeah, they want to know what they truly, some of them don't understand the value of actually buying other than it sounds really scary.
A lot of them.
And so that's why they defer to renting.
You used the word human, and we have to admit that all humans are different. You know, I just got trolled on Reddit. Somebody put a long dissertation about, you know, should I buy, and this is my situation, and this is how much money, and this is the location, and down payment, 3.5, and all this stuff. And I responded back with, for the last 100 years, real estate has really done nothing but go up. Sure, we had maybe 2 or 3 dips in the market for short periods of time where it went down. And even when I was talking with the reporter about, you know, interviewing and stuff, I was going back to World War II. When people came home, we used to have the man worked and the woman would stay home and raise the children. And then house prices got too expensive, and they couldn't buy a house with just one income. So now the man and the woman both had to get jobs. And now we're getting to the point where even with 2 people working with good paying jobs, it's getting hard for them to get into the game. But my response was, you know, for the last 100 years, the values of the properties have gone up. And if you don't get in the game, everybody else is going to go forward. You're going to get left behind. And it's just going to get harder and harder every year. Somebody responded and trolled me with that. Well, you can't, the past history doesn't predict the future. And I'm like, what
History
the heck
precedes
are you
itself.
talking about? The only way to predict the future is by analyzing the past.
Absolutely.
You know.
That's what Joey does, and he's always right.
Joey is always
Every
right.
single time.
Noster Joey, I do like it. You keep bringing Joey back into this because I wish he was here in the studio with us. It'd
He
be a
is
lot
here.
more.
He is
I get
here.
loud,
Oh,
man.
there
He's
you
part
go.
I
of
get
this.
so amped up. I'm just sitting in here, just yelling at my freaking microphone. Yeah, this
But
is
it's
what-
on
what I
mute.
do.
That's where the only problem
He's
is.
very
and we can't hear
passionate
that.
with that word too. He seems to be
What's that?
very, very jumpy today.
Joey?
Yeah, freaking. He said that like 4 times so far.
That's my F word, man. That's my F word. Enjoy
Okay.
it.
Let's.
Mine's fun.
Is it?
We're having fun.
I
This is a
can't.
good time.
I can't say the one I think.
No.
So.
No.
Steve said some F words here that he's not supposed to.
Mine's Fred, like as in infrared. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, that's home inspector
Oh,
humor.
wow.
Are you kidding me? That was
Oh,
great. No?
jeez.
All right, then I apologize
Someone
to
mute
everybody
him.
else that comes in here.
Boom.
But again, this goes back, Joey. I just had another client. She was a VA, the VA loan coming in there, and it was a new construction house. And this is one of those where we had about 100 items in the report that goes in there.
I believe it.
And I shouldn't say new construction. It was actually a flip, that comes in there. I know everybody else rolls their
Very
eyes
different.
as well.
Very different, but yeah.
It is. I misspoke. I'm sorry. But, when we got shingles missing, we got bare wood on the outside. It was a house that was, younger than 1978. So
It's
I
probably in
wasn't.
better shape when the flipper got their hands on it. than when
It
they got
probably
finished.
was where it comes with these things. But, she's going off on, am I going to be able to get this mortgage? And she's asking me these questions. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because the appraiser is the person who's doing the quasi inspection that comes in there. And, they're going to be looking at what they call health and safety, but not always is that spelled out. What is health and safety? And I have read the MRPs on this sort of stuff. So there are some things, but I'm like, he should be catching the peeling paint. He should be catching the bare wood. He should be catching the earth to wood that's on here, the missing handrails, the broken windows. And these are all things that I'm pretty sure, and please tell me if I was wrong, Joey, they're going to have to fix before the loan gets approved. Is
Right,
it-
you can sign. You get some of those waived. You can get handrails waived with a hold harmless letter along with it.
Okay.
There's things the VA will allow you to waive with a hold harmless. They're not going to allow you to do that with chipping paint 99% of the time, though. On a house built before 78.
And this was after, it was younger than that sort of stuff coming in there. But, then I
get
just
it.
had another client that they bought a condo, and this is in Evanston, and we had 14 things wrong on this report. And I'm looking at the report, and my inspector was really digging on this one. He's putting on there that the door swinging doesn't have a bumper to block the wall and prevent it from getting things in there.
I
And
love those ones because when I see that they're digging deep, I'm like, this place is in good shape.
it was in good shape. But now I got a client, we're talking about GFIs and outlets that are $25 here. He goes, well, I'm going to tell him I want $600, or these things repaired, or I'm not going to buy the house. And I stay out of the coaching part with that stuff. My response was, you better have a talk with your real estate agent about this one. And if somebody came to you two about that, how would that conversation go?
It would be silent.
They would be silent.
They would look at each
answer,
other
sorry.
like, what
They're
do you
both
think?
looking at each other. You take it. No, you take it. I don't want to do this. I felt
600
like
bucks.
that Mikey commercial that comes. Let's get Mikey. He'll eat it.
Your client
Eat
wants to back
anything.
out over $600 worth of stuff. What do you say to him?
Okay, so first of all, the biggest thing is that you're buying one of the most important things in your life, making one of the most important decisions ever, right?
Yeah.
So is it really worth losing a property over that? So the question I always tell clients, I did this, actually I went through a home inspection yesterday with a client, and just say, well, this is, you're going to probably spend this, or this is probably going to happen here, or welcome to home ownership, or whatever. And it's just saying, hey, at the end, every single time I'm talking to this person, talking to anyone, I say, well, where's the benefit for you? Where is the value to you? Is there value? Is there not? Do you feel like it has to get taken care of? Do you feel like you want to walk? Do you feel like whatever? Because I always give them the option. Now I help them break down what's really important, most likely, based on numbers, or the fact of the home structure and things like that. But I'm, overall, I just want to make sure they realize, like, I'm not telling them what to do, but I am advising them based on what I know, and being a homeowner myself a couple times, and been doing this for 19 years. You're going to give that, this is what I think, but it's just up to you at the end of the day, so on. They always know that, but it's important to reiterate that to them, because sometimes I think they feel like they're pushed, and it's not about pushing, it's about advising and educating, and then they make the final decision. I will always support them no matter what they do, because guess what?
It's their choice.
Yeah, it's their choice. Would you agree? What would you say?
I agree, Steve.
Yeah,
That's it?
and I'm. Yeah,
You got nothing else?
This is done with you.
No,
man.
I mean, I think one thing you would want to tell a client in this situation is, look, it's existing real estate, and it's not going to be perfect. And really, even brand new construction isn't perfect either. So, let's take that on board as far as the analysis. And then, further, if there's only $600 worth of stuff, I mean, you are starting out with as close to a blank slate as you could hope for. And here, Steve, I know, knows a handy person. He's going to be able to hook you up with, all of the people that can do this work, and probably have it done while your moving truck is on the way to the property. And, just giving sort of the context of exactly how that is going to look for them as they proceed with owning the real estate. I think that probably in 99.9% of the cases where we're talking about this particular set of circumstances is going to ultimately win the day for a client who, let's face it, all of our clients are on tilt. They're completely, they are afraid of all of the unknowns, of the unknown unknowns. And, it's scary for just about anyone who's getting involved. And so,
I couldn't agree more.
We guide them through it.
But that's where we come into is, and I'm going to give a shout out to my old fire chief, Jay Reardon. And I'll confess, Jay, since I'm retired and you can't do anything about it anymore, that I rolled my eyes when you told me this. I'm like, oh, that's nuts. And he went ahead, and on the Northbrook Fire Department, he came up with a phrase that he wanted us all to memorize: consistently exceeding customer expectations. And I didn't really take it seriously until I started getting into my own business, but expectations is huge, and setting those expectations and letting people know what they're going to be doing or what's going to be happening. But more importantly, I'm going after with you two, the real estate agents, and Joey and Patrick as well, and definitely me, is what leverage does the client have? And I know we talked about that last week as well.
Loves this word.
I do love that word. It means so much. They need to understand what the market is. And we talk about you buying a house in Wilmette, where we're coming by, you don't have a lot of power. You go to River North in the same building where they got 30 units, you got leverage. Is that wrong, right? Is that important, or when do you even approach that?
I think you start with the goal. What's our goal here? And then you go, all right, how are we going to get there? And how's that going to work?
Go a little bit more. Give me an example. What do you mean by that? What's your goal?
Ultimately, the goal is to buy a home that meets your needs and your family's needs, right? So if we're starting there, the inspection is meant to give us any warnings that this might not be the case. All right. Now, whatever we end up negotiating, if the inspection is not a, I'm out sort of situation, whatever we end up negotiating, it's fine. Right? And, either the seller's going to do it, the seller's going to give you a credit, or they're not. But if our goal is still at that point to get to a closing table, what our leverage is, we'll get where we're going to get. We will position it. We will try to sell it as well as we can. We'll try to be as persuasive as we can. But, I think as often as not, people get a little bit too caught up in trying to win the inspection negotiation. Yeah. And they want to get into words like should, the seller should, the buyer should. No one should do anything, okay? This isn't meant to be a completely fair situation, right? You have one set of goals, the other side of the transaction has another set of goals, and if there's enough things aligned, you will get to the end line. You'll get to the finish line. If not, you won't. But don't get caught up in, well, this seller's not doing right by me, or this buyer is treating me unfairly. Because if that feeling ends up with the wrong result, which is a failed transaction, which a transaction that didn't necessarily need to fail, then you've lost the plot. You've not done right by yourself.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is I've been getting people, my clients doing the Zoom afterwards, saying exactly that.
Don't
And why
banish
is it
the
that?
word "should" from your vocabulary. It's just it's not useful.
But again, this is where, I've never worked with that real estate agent before. I don't know who that person is. And my whole thought process is why is this client even thinking in that route? You know what I mean? And that's where I was going with you too, trying to figure out from, why is this person coming at to me like, yeah, I'm going to make them, clean out the ductwork or something like that. I'm like, okay, you really need to talk to your real estate agent because I don't want to do the real estate agent job,
What do you say normally to your clients?
I thought we agreed that you were right.
No, I get that part. I appreciate that.
Thought we were
Are you
moving
too,
on to
Mary?
that.
Doesn't always
Because
happen.
it's usually
so
the guy saying to
kind
the
of
woman,
exciting
"Are you
there.
you are right?"
No.
Steve is always right.
No, I'm not.
No, I mean, like he said, it's consulting and making them understand what nickel and diming and what is typical standard inspection stuff that comes up on things that aren't brand new, caulk, chip tile, or what have you, and really focusing on structural stuff. Is there mold? Is there, the structural beams in the basement? Are they, sound? Or is there a sewer problem? Is there, those are kind of the things you want to coach them on. And if they're like, well, there's a chipped vanity or something, it's like, yeah, well, we're not going to have them replace the countertop. And especially in the market we're in right now, you can ask for stuff. The seller probably has 12 backup offers in most places. So you want to risk it? You can. These are all minor things. Now, if it wasn't a minor thing, I'll say, hey, yeah, we took it as is with no request, but this is a serious thing that I think the sellers would want to fix for themselves if they're still living here. So it's just situational.
Or the next,
As we talked before.
yeah, or the
Everything's
next,
situational.
right, or the next buyer that comes in, no matter what. Now, perhaps it has to be disclosed, or even the fact that that's still a problem. That's going to be a problem for the next person.
How about you, Patrick? Are you seeing more people coming to you, just telling you, "Get me this stuff"?
I mean, if someone has it set in their mind exactly how they want to proceed, then okay, do they want my advice? That's a good question to ask somebody.
That is a good question.
Unsolicited advice is really unwelcome. And it sets up both sides for
Paying you for that?
I mean, they're paying me for whatever they're paying me for. It's like
Okay.
some people. I mean, Charlie, not everyone takes you up on the idea of having a Zoom call afterwards,
True.
right? So, aren't they paying you for that? Well, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
they're paying you for
Force
that.
the water. I get it.
Yeah, not everyone wants that. Not everyone is interested. I mean, my first-time home buyer clients have a different set of needs than people who are downsizing, than people who are moving out to the burbs to put their kids in a particular school or what have you. So at the end of the day, each of those clients in each of their circumstances is probably going to require a different bit of advice. Are you buying a condo? Are you buying single family detached? Are you buying a multifamily?
So you don't give advice unless asked for.
Well, the hypothetical that was presented to me is Charlie said, the client comes to me and says, "Get me this," and if they've already decided, if they've had a conversation with their agent, and they jointly send me a list of things, or they've already
made
gone
the
through
decision.
it. I don't necessarily need to retread that ground with them. I don't necessarily need to be like, well, let me inject all of my opinions here. I mean, I'm not the only competent person in Chicagoland who
But
can.
you don't work with all competent agents, correct?
Well,
And what I mean by that is not everyone is the same, right? And the fact
not everyone is the same.
and what
I agree.
so I'm not saying, I shouldn't say comment, I should just say the difference of opinions, right? So, and different ways of running their business. So when someone asks you, okay, but don't you say, well, I assume your agent explained to you that, you're asking for all these things that are cosmetic, but you understand what cosmetic means, right? Or
Well,
something like that. Do you do that to reiterate?
If we're steering into a bunch of rocky territory, red flag type stuff, I will probably advise them that I don't see a lot of value in asking for a coat of paint on whatever. I mean that yeah, we could pick this apart and find situations where it might be a different situation. It might be a different. I might proceed differently.
But you never. So if you're having a discussion with people and they're like, "I want this for all of these," I know that some attorneys will be like, "That's fine, but do you know like this is roughly this cost this?" So technically, we're talking about a $1,500 credit realistically, but you're asking for $3,500. We can do that, but you can see how that's going to make the seller kind of have bad taste in their mouth when they know it's only a $1,500 fix for all of these things, but they're asking for $3,500 or more because buyers will do that. And even if they talk to, like, I have conversations, I say that to my clients. I'm like, look, roughly, and sometimes I don't know estimates. I'm not sure roughly what this is going to cost. I can find out, but all these other things are going to be under $2,000. So if we come at $5,000, the seller's going to be like, I'm sorry, especially in this particular market. And so the attorney usually is on the same page with me for the most part, and they'll reiterate, but like, I know Amber told you that, and I'm kind of in line with that and he may even know what the estimated cost is of the thing that I didn't know. And so collectively, we're trying to consult in the best way that we can for our client to make the best informed decision. But sometimes people just want to ask for it given what's happening in the market. So you do it.
That just happened to me.
I mean,
yesterday.
You kind of said it.
But you have to talk through that first
Right.
so they know the decision, to see all the options before they make that rash decision, just to make the decision.
My client
to win,
told me,
as you said.
My client told me yesterday, when we were talking about things that he felt that they're very concerning, if you will, from the inspection report. I had to break it down for him. I had to help him understand what was going on. And he's like, well, I want to ask for this. What do you think? And I go, well, I technically, like you just said, like that's probably worth this. The worst thing that could happen is
They say no.
they say no. But hey,
Well,
if you want to try,
there's worse than that. That's not the worst thing
well,
that can happen.
Well, they could also, and I say in this particular, if they've got, I know that they've got a backup offer, at least one.
Yeah.
So
And
they
then-
could say buy and go with it. I mean,
That's
so you
my
tell them
point.
all the expectations, and it's ultimately their decision. But you have to be their consultant to tell them the good, bad, the ugly, and the consequences of their decisions.
Well, the risk and the rewards.
Yeah.
Most people
is
do
where everything
want
come
that
in there.
advice. I mean, I think maybe I made it sound like that's my common practice. I mean, I'm really just reacting to the question that Charlie asked, which is, what if a client comes to you and is adamant that they want a particular thing? I mean, the client's in charge, right? Like
Client's in charge.
the only thing I
It's
can
their
do
house, it's their money, it's their everything. You're
if I
absolutely
think
right.
they're doing something unethical or illegal, I will have to fire myself from that client because that's not okay. I'm not going to get dragged into something like that. But if it's a matter of them being steadfast and wanting to ask for something more than what I think is appropriate, quote unquote, well, what is appropriate is my opinion at the end of the day, first of all. And number two is, I can only really take the client as they come. So if they come to me with unrealistic expectations, and if they're willing to listen to me and they still go, yeah, I've had clients, I've had clients who from all over the map, from all different perspectives, all different, backgrounds, everything. And most of them do want my opinion on things, and occasionally, they're like, no, thank you, and this is what I want to do. In which case, okay, you're in the driver's seat, and that's all fine. I mean, I'm happy to be flexible with people to meet what their particular needs are. Not everyone needs exactly what I think I have to offer and what I think they need.
Joey, when your interactions with the clients, are they kind of the same as Patrick's here? Because you're more of a black and white type of situation. It's either it's going to go or not go. Is that true?
Man, I find ways to
my
get
language.
things done.
What an unfair
Yeah,
way to characterize his role. But okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. It's like, hey, you can do it or you can't. No, I did. Like, I find ways. I find ways to get things done.
mean,
If I can't do it though, I just let them know, like, hey, we can't do this right now, but we have a path. There's no such thing as a no in the industry, right? There's no such thing as a no. It's just like, is it right now or is it soon, right? Or is it in 3 years? Because I've worked with clients that took 3 years to get them in position to buy. Just got to keep following up. And then they become the biggest fans you've ever had, and the most referrals you'll ever get.
Well, I had one just yesterday where I got the termination letter a day after I got the contract, and I obviously I'm disappointed when that happens. And I reached out to the agent. And I was like, "Gee, what happened there? Did you have a chance to talk with the buyer and see if we could, get their feet back warmer?" But it turned out that they were under a misconception about what financing they could get, and it wasn't going to work for a variety of reasons. And after that conversation, I'm like, you know what, this is the best thing that could happen under the circumstances. The last thing we want to do is go through the whole process and 4 weeks from now find out, oh yeah, actually we mischaracterized some of the income that they had, and it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. And that's all good, and that's where someone like Joey can save everyone a lot of headaches by taking a look at that and being like, yeah, no, this is unfortunately, yeah. This does not work the way you thought it was going to work.
There's still agents out there showing people houses without pre-approvals. It still happens, and I know that's a whole show in
contracts
itself.
I get that aren't even pre-approved. It's just like, where did this come from?
Seriously,
yeah, it happens. It's a thing. Yeah. Hey, we got a contract. Can you talk to my client? He needs a pre-approval. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh.
How did this get accepted?
Do you know what
that's your competition, Steven and Amber. That is your competition.
I don't think they realize that, Joey.
That's not competition.
No,
it's not. But they're still getting deals that should be yours.
Yeah, they are. And that was one of the questions. When I was in group stuff like that. Who is your competition? The competition is those single one-person people that are like that. They're outnumbered. All right, there's 70,000 licensed real estate agents. 80% of them really don't do anything. All right, so that comes out to 60,000 people.
Hold on. Did you say there's 70,000 agents?
In the state of Illinois that are licensed real estate agent brokers and managing brokers.
Man, that number went down a lot.
It was at 75,000. It was up there that high, and it does go up and down, but I do monitor those things.
Huh.
I'm kind of dorky where it comes with it, so... there's 1,300 licensed home inspectors. I know, right?
Well, here's the thing. How many mortgage people out there now? You guys went from like 1 million to like 130 or something, didn't you? What's the number?
It was like 400,000 down to like 85,000.
Oh my gosh.
Is that nationwide or is that just?
Yeah. And I don't even think that includes the people that are working at banks. But yeah, I mean, we've lost 75% of the industry, and I've never been happier.
Why aren't we? Why is that not happening to us?
It will. Right now, it's easy money. Everybody just thinks that hang a shingle, put a lockbox on the door.
Well, nothing could be more
and then I
wrong
get
than
my
what
3.5% because I got the listing and stuff like that.
He is being tongue in cheek by saying that. Yes, he's pointing. For those of you who are not watching, who are listening, he's pointing at himself in a jestful way. But no, obviously it's not easy. But what is easy is doing 30 hours of continuing education and paying the fee and then just letting your license sit somewhere. So
sometimes it is easy. I'm going to argue that, it's like when the market is
Steve,
hot
Amber,
like
would
this,
you like to, I know we got 3 minutes left.
They're different. They're not in that group. There's the most people that are out there are not.
Easy is not the way to say it. It's being skilled.
Okay, I can buy into that.
So I don't think the easy factor, sure, I guess there's an easy button like, oh, this was a really easy transaction. Like if you work with one professional and another professional. But if you work with a person out there that's not professional and then you're professional, you're dealing with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and it drives us crazy as agents.
You're going right to the beef of everything that I want to talk about every single week is, how do I know that this person is a professional? But guess what? We're out of time. So
have a good day.
Have a good day. All right. If you don't mind, give me the start, Amber, please give us your contact info, and then we got to wrap this up.
Amber Kardosh at Properties Christie's International, Instagram at Amber Kardosh Real Estate.
And the phone number?
773-726-2070.
One more time, a little bit slower, please.
773-726-2070.
Thank you. Steve? Steve's giggling. Patrick?
Hey, find me on social media. I'm Patrick Loftus with Loftus Law, real estate lawyer, and other stuff. But anything you want to get in touch with me about, find me on social media. Loftus_law on Instagram, Loftus Law on TikTok. Go watch my shorts on YouTube. Steve, would you like to let us know?
You ready, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
Quit licking your lips and
Steve
just tell
Davis.
us.
Steve Davis, 312-513-6314.
Can you say that slower, please?
No.
I'm Steve Davis on all socials.
I'm
and
Steve Davis on
he
all
really
socials.
is a sweet guy, and I'm a jerk, so I'm sorry to everybody.
Joey, please. I'm just going to go home and cry.
Thank God.
Joey
I finally
Mathews.
got it done.
The VA Loan Nerd. You can find me on all socials as at the VA Loan Nerd. You can call or text me at 630-235-2405.
Who
My
said it
name is
best?
Charlie Bellefontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. Special thank you to Devin Tingle for cutting out all our nasty words today. And that is it. My name is Charlie again.